Hello, welcome back to another SwansCast podcast. I'm back again with Lee and Ben, so welcome back, boys.
How are we?
Hello.
Yeah, good. We've been having a few technical difficulties, so this podcast taking a little bit longer to record than it normally does, so I just hope that it, stays with us, I guess. But any issues along the way, we've already lined up our excuse there. It is an international break. We've got a couple of games to talk about, a couple of predictions that we need to revisit. Some of us doing a little bit better than others. I think we're quite positive after the last podcast when we got 2 wins on the board. But I want to say, as much as it hasn't been all doom and gloom ever since, a little bit of missed opportunity and what could have been maybe in the last couple of games. So that's mainly what's going to be on the agenda tonight. I'm not wrong in saying we've got Bristol, City, Sheffield United and Stoke to discuss tonight since the last one, yeah?
Correct.
Yeah, obviously these, I do all these videos, forget what the last one actually was. But yeah, so where do we start then? Do we want to start with the games or do we want to start with some of the big news? Because there's been a couple of other things to discuss as well. Any preference where we begin?
Let's start with the games. Get out of the way.
Go on then. Bristol City then. So Swansea went, at home to Bristol City, drew 1-1. Went away to Sheffield United and lost that one 1-0. And we drew 0-0 at home to Stoke as well. I would say on the balance of the 3 games, I think the Swans have actually shown decent or good performances, depending on how you want to look at it, with the recurrence of the same sort of themes that are proven to be our Achilles heel, if you like, as we go on through the season. You could argue, I think there's an argument to say they could have won all 3, maybe should have won at least 2 of them, but unfortunately we didn't win any of them. What do you think then, Ben, on that?
Well, there's just irrefutable pattern forming, isn't it? I mean, I'd probably say it's true for all 3 of these games, plus some more games in the season prior. And it's that we're a first half team and we really don't look anything like we did in the first half when we come out after the break. It's start with Bristol City. That game, as you said, ended 1-1. We went in 1-0 at half time, if memory serves right, just a simple corner routine. But really, we dominated certain elements of the game and we didn't make use of it enough, didn't look to double the lead, and then came out second half. And I was just saying to people around me, you can tell it's going to end 1-1. They didn't look like doing anything. It was a similar situation with the Stoke game also, which we'll get to in a bit. But, you expect to concede eventually, which we did, ends 1-1. It's, again, like you say, that I'm assuming that's one of the 2 games you were hinting at we probably should have taken all 3 points from.
Yeah, the 2 draws I was specifically saying. I think Sheffield United at least could have been a draw, probably as a minimum. Maybe they probably deserved it in the end, I think, on a balance of 90 minutes, but first half especially, that's the one that Timon scored the mad own goal, isn't it? And just before that we missed a sitter. I know we'll go into that a little bit more in a minute, but I would argue that it was at the time of Sheffield scoring the goal, they didn't deserve to be winning the game. At the end of the game, I think they created some chances in the second half that they probably feel like they could have done better with. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is our Achilles heel, which is the creating chances and scoring goals, has probably cost us a points in every single match of these 3 matches. I think that's fair to say. Lee, what's your take on the 3 as an overall?
Yeah, no, I think you boys covered it. It's just, that pattern is definitely emerging. I think it's been like that all season, though, but I think it's kind of masked it a bit when we've had like good results. Similar in games like Norwich before, it was a good win, but we'd go up, play well in the first 20, 30 minutes, and then the other team looks like they've got loads of chances. Cardiff game, similar to Bristol. I think it's just the same thing as happened.
This connection wasn't even an issue, though. That wasn't one of the problems.
Oh,
You can carry on talking. So did you two didn't leave then, no?
No.
Okay,
no, we
yeah.
didn't leave. No.
Carry on. Just I can edit it because I'm recording it locally, so we haven't lost anything.
So as Lee was saying, Bristol and Cardiff games were basically the same.
Yeah, just start on your
carbon
Bristol again.
copies.
Yeah.
Like I said, Bristol was basically a carbon copy of the Cardiff game, and it's we'll get into the detail a bit more, but I think definitely I got my opinion on what the problem is.
What do you think that is?
It might be a bit harsh. I think a lot of people might disagree with me, but I think in general, I think we play quite well. I think from Vigouroux to the back four to Franco and Grimes as the middle two, I don't see any problem there at all. I think they're so good at keeping the ball and working it. Everything in front of that, I don't think is good enough.
So you reckon Ji-sung is I never stick to one. Ronald and either Callan or Vipotnik. You saying all three not good enough?
Well, all four in front. I don't think they create
Cooper.
enough. Cooper, yeah, I think I like Cooper a lot, and he's been so much better this season than he was last season. But he's not a creative midfielder, and I think like with Ronald and we average 60% possession a game. If you average 60% possession a game, they got to be doing more with that ball. In front, I think everything behind them sets up the platform for that, and I just don't think they do enough. Looks good sometimes. He does sometimes takes on a man. He looks sharp, but he doesn't. He was unlucky in one of the games, wasn't he? I think it was Stoke where he hit the bar. But apart from that, I think he's got one assist, which was the corner against Bristol City.
Yeah,
Cooper has one assist, which is the one he shot against Preston and come off Abdullah's back. And Ronald has one assist, which was the one in garbage time against Preston as well, with Vipotnik scored. So for those three to have one assist each, with 60% possession every game, I don't think it's good enough.
Do you think, I'm not disagreeing with you necessarily, but like in terms of measuring it by assists, when perhaps the strikers are not good enough at finishing either, maybe isn't.
Yeah, but they're not creating chances, are they? It's not like we're peppering the goal and Vipotnik and Cullen are missing chances. We're not even creating chances. So not even putting
not
it
all
on.
of them, no.
Like we've said about like how our strikers get no touches in the game. I know maybe they're not making the runs. I don't know, but I just think that three in particular behind the striker are just not creative enough. I think they're decent players.
But I think you're on the right path. I don't know if I agree with you. All of them are not good enough. For me, I think Um's been quite good personally. You obviously bear in mind he out of all of them that you just mentioned, other than Vipotnik, but say Callan, Ronald, and Cooper, he's the new one to the bunch, and I think he's the one doing the most. So I think fair enough for me. I said in the last, or whenever me and Ben did the video, I think it was the last one. Out of the wingers, personally, I think there's a higher ceiling there, and it's just getting there. I think part of his issue is physicality, but you can see that he's acknowledged it, and I think he is working towards improving that in the league. And you do definitely get spells where he's really on it, looking dangerous, and maybe he hasn't quite found that last final killer ball. I think that's a little bit of an issue for the whole team. I don't think it's necessarily an issue just for the front players, but I think that's more because of the way that Luke Williams is asking them to play rather than the individual issues. And I'm not saying that none of them are not good enough or they can't be doing better or we can't improve individually with them players. But in terms of the patterns of play, from what I'm seeing, Luke Williams clearly wants us to go wide, and that's fine. But I think the problem is he only seems to want us to attack from wide. So we're overloading with the wingers. We've got the wing backs coming up to support them. So there's already two players out wide each. Ollie Cooper is always going wide as well. He's never attacking through the middle. He's either supporting on the left or he's supporting on the right. And he's also then trying to cut in and get a shot or do something like that, which is leaving the striker the only person quite often in the box. So whether you're trying to do a low cross or cross in the air, we probably haven't got the best strikers in the air. Vipotnik, maybe, he can be a bit better. But when they're usually marked by at least two centre-backs, you've either got to be pinpointing your accuracy of crossing or it's just not going to happen, is it? Realistically, when you're aiming for one player all the time. And that's so easy to defend against in the box. That's why you're seeing all the good play. You get all the way to the corner flag. You get all the way around the box, but never within it because there's always one person in there to aim for. The teams know they can commit resources to defend us out wide because we don't try anything else. We're just going wide all the time. And I think a good team has a balance of attacking out wide and in the middle. So you go out wide as your primary plan. That's fine. But then when the teams are kind of nullifying that with their defence, you go inside because that's where the space now is because they've committed resources to marking out wide. When you start doing that, that opposition starts thinking, hang on, I can't just mark the wingers because I need to mark the danger man that's also on the inside. We don't have that. So the other teams that we're playing against don't need to compensate. They can completely put resources out wide all the time. minimise our wide threats, which is where the danger is, essentially. When that's mitigated, there is no danger anymore. And the fact that like the Ollie Coopers and even like Franco and Grimes, when they get forward, they tend to peel off. You very rarely see them in the middle, and the heat maps show it quite well. But yeah, that's what's going on in my opinion, and I think he needs to mix it up and say like, that's fine if that's our primary outlet, but we also need to then mix it up to make sure that the defense of the other team is then having to be asked questions in another part of the pitch. So when it comes to later in the game, when you've done that a few times either way, they can't say, I'm only going to commit here or I'm only going to commit there, and they're a little bit more stretched, and that's where the space can be made. And I think that's what our issue is, I'll be honest. And until Luke Williams addresses that tactically, I don't really see it changing. And I know Ollie Cooper can be questioned, like, is he good enough for that role? Is he not? But do you disagree with me that he's always seemed to be in support? Like, Ronald or will go wide and he'll come on the underlap of them, or he'll run on as they cut in. Either way, he's in the corner, not in the middle. So who is he passing to? Who's he giving a ball to the edge of the box for a shot? The other option, obviously, is to get it to the striker in the middle, but there's two centre-backs in there with him, so that's the difficulty for me, and I don't really see us looking to change that. We seem to be getting better to get into them areas, but outside of that, I don't really know what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I'd say I partly agree with both of you and partly disagree. So, Lee, first of all, when you say the attack's the issue, I'd agree our attack certainly isn't anything that's going to pull up trees. It's not a top 6 attack by any means, but I think we can't ignore the fact that we are putting in good performances in the first half. The big one for me, and I know we've touched on already with, first half, second half displays. When's the last time we even scored a goal in the second half? It's actually game week 2 against Preston. The 2 goals that came quite late on in the game when they were pushing. And keep in mind, this was the Preston side that were managerless, rudderless. They looked awful, and they were rightly in the relegation zone after the early stage of the season. Since then, every single week it's been subpar in the second half. That's partly because of mindset. Like you say, we haven't put games to bed. But equally, it's because the reinforcements coming off the bench are so far below the first team. I don't think we've seen a gap in quality from bench to first team like this in years and years and years. Like, if you look at the players who have been, appearances, Abdullahi, I think he has potential, but he seems like a bit of a square peg at the minute. Piat Harris really hasn't done much to impress me. I know he missed a sitter. I'm not going to bemoan him for that, but, even just things in general, build-up play, I think his decision-making's been off. For Potnick, I think he is actually improving, and we have seen in recent weeks the ball played into him a bit more, so hopefully Luke Williams is trying to correct that issue with being too focused on wide play. But then who else? Bianchini's like... when he came on, him and Abdullahi, I realised it became a bit of a toxic place against Stoke. But honestly, the first touch, the decision-making, the movement, everything was just severely off. And we seen what's happened when Cullen was ill, and Potnick wasn't fit enough to play back-to-back games. We had Piat Harris, who's more of an 8, in my opinion, starting up front. It just exposes how bad the depth is and why we're looking at free agents, as we'll talk about a bit later. So for me, the starting 11... it will see us through. As soon as you take a couple of those players out, all of a sudden, we're in trouble a bit more.
Yeah, and my criticism of the players is not like of that like 3 behind the striker in particular. I'm not saying that they're horrendous players, but I think they're sort of good level championship players if we want to be kind of like hovering around mid-table. But if we want to actually like push on and challenge, I don't. Well, I haven't seen it yet. I think like you said, has shown flashes and he can get better. But particularly Cooper and Ronald, I think like Stoke was a lot better. But Ronald had about 3 chances in the first half that he should have buried. And the keeper pulled off a worldie save for 1. But there were other chances that he should have buried. I just think and again, I agree with you with the strength and depth. I'm kind of criticising those 3, but there's nothing. You can't drop them because there's nothing behind. But it's just frustrating to watch sometimes, and I know what you're saying about the kind of tactical thing where we go out wide a lot. But I think, the amount of ball that we have and the amount of like front foot ball that we have, is particularly in the first half, we got to be putting games to bed. I think we had 1 shot on target against Sheffield United, even though we looked pretty dominant in that first half. We're averaging like 63-64% possession, and we're getting like 1-2 shots on target a game. It's just not good enough. It's really frustrating.
No, I do agree. I was kind of, like I said earlier, me and Ben were talking about Ronald a bit in the last video, and I was kind of saying like, I don't know, question marks were being raised a bit for me. I know it's a little bit early days. I'm not trying to write him off or anything. But I think when he came in, he was a bit of a breath of fresh air. We hadn't really seen a winger in a long time. He's quite quick. He had a few good games. But I think he fizzled out after Cardiff. I can't really remember. Cardiff earlier this year, I mean now. I can't really remember that many good performances from him, generally. Now, again, might be partially down to him being a little bit more found out in the league. Now they know he's a bit of a threat and have to mark him. And then what I was saying earlier about the way that we are playing as well might be a bit of both of those things. But that's why I look at the way that is playing, and I think he definitely looks like he could take a man on a bit more. Every time I see Ronald try and take a man on, he just tries to run past them, and that isn't really going in his favour quite often these days. And he has no end product whatsoever. I don't think that's a debate anymore. I think, like, I'm not saying that can't be improved, that can't be worked on. But you're right in what you were saying about his chances against Stoke. Maybe one of them you can, say fair enough, okay, if he's missed it. But there was 3. One of them should have been a goal. 100% one of them should have been a goal. And it's not just this game that's happened where he takes a shot and sometimes they're not all clear cut, but quite often when you see him take a shot on, even if it's half a chance, he rarely even tests the keeper. It's usually just nowhere. And it seems like a bit of a theme, I think. But there's no one else. You're right. There's no one else to bring in.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They criticize him, but there's nothing on the bench that can, that can change that. Like Ronald does some really dodgy things sometimes. What game was it where he was like, I think he was like through on goal and then he just tried to back heel it in the box. I can't remember what game that was. And then there was that, was it the Norwich game where he played that absolutely wild back pass?
Yeah.
To the goalkeeper and the striker was waiting for it. I just feel like he just does some really odd things as well. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's just a bit of out of form, hopefully, but he hasn't done much this season.
I'm gonna hopefully say it's out of form because he was consistently putting in 7 or 7.5 out of 10 performances last season, whereas this year obviously Preston was an easy game. He did fine in that game. I'd say Norwich he did fine in that game. I can't really comment on Coventry because I missed it, so maybe he did something there. But apart from that, yeah, for the most part, it's been substandard performances. Fair enough in the games against Borough and West Brom, the team played bad. You don't expect them to play well. But, Cardiff really didn't show up. Stoke, I mean, for what it's worth, I feel like his decision-making was a bit more there, and he actually got in positions to score, which he isn't normally doing. So that, you can argue signs of encouragement. But yeah, he really should have scored one of the chances he got given to him.
Yeah, I don't know. Just, I think he's fine. Like, I don't have an issue with him being in the squad at all. But I think, like, it is a concern that when he's in this sort of form that we can't drop him. I think that's the problem. Maybe that's what he needs. Maybe that's what he needs to get his form back, and then he'd come back out and be like, oh, okay, yeah, we were wrong. He's actually just going through a bad patch, but seems to be no option right now to kind of find that out.
For me, it exposes how we're not utilising what he's given us as well, because even though he's out of form, teams are still aware of him. He's still drawing 2 men on the ball. When he runs them, they need the left back and centre back, or they need the left back and the left centre mid to cover. So theoretically, there's 2 men drawn out wide. There should be space to take advantage of somewhere, and we just don't do it.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the issue that I was talking about. I think against Stoke there was a little bit more crossing going into the box, even early balls, which maybe that's part of the solution. My argument is like Ollie Cooper, whoever's playing in that role, why are they never just on the edge of the box in a position to pick it up and have a shot or something like that, or Grimes or Franco going into that hole, pocket, whatever you want to call it. There's never anyone there for the cutback. It's either get to the byline and put a cross in, or get to the byline, there's no one there to put a cross in, so he needs to go back to Josh Key and then try again until someone's in the box. That seems to be all we're doing. That literally seems to be all we're doing.
I'd argue this is going to sound harsh on Cooper because he's actually been playing really well this season, but we're using the full-backs in midfield anyway. They're not exactly overlapping. So
yeah, they're like inverted, aren't they?
Yeah, it almost makes sense if we're trying to now go more directly into the box when we get out wide to play Vipotnik and Cullen together and have 2 strikers in the box.
Yeah, but
Franco, Grimes in the midfield too. You use Timon and Key not to overlap, but just support the midfield.
Yeah, I wouldn't have an issue with that. And I'd argue that Cooper still has a role to play in the team, and there's no reason he can't drop into one of, say, you're saying about the strength in depth and that, like Franco goes off, we get to be weaker. Cannot Cooper maybe do a certain job there, maybe, coming off the bench, going into that role instead?
Well, either that, or if Cullen comes off, that's a more like for like, you'd argue, if he played that system of 4-4-2.
Well,
Yeah.
Bellamy's playing him there, isn't he, in the Welsh squad, centre mid, so...
Yeah, I feel like I think you're right. I think he's better as a centre midfielder rather than an attacking midfielder. I don't think he kind of is creative enough to be in that role. But I think as a centre midfielder would be perfect because he works so hard and he gets on the ball well, he tackles well. I think he's made for that position. So it's not a bad shout actually. If like Franco's not fit,
who did he hit the post against? Was it Sheffield United with the charge down?
Bristol City. Yeah,
Bristol City, yeah, that should have been rewarded, I think, a little bit more than it was. And that would have been 2-0 at the time as well, wouldn't it? So that would...
Yeah, that would have changed the game, to be fair.
But that's what you get out of him, isn't it? And I think that's a vital part of what we're doing as well going forward. I think another issue that we have is that when they win the ball in them areas, obviously in that case it deflected off he charged it down and it kind of a little bit nuts, really, nearly scored from... When he must be near the halfway between the goal and the halfway line, was it, where he charged it down, caught the keeper off?
It was about 35 yards.
Yeah. But there's been occasions where we win the ball, generally just win it in them areas, and we're just not efficient or quick enough with the transition to attack then. Where the team we're against, we won the ball, where they're in a keep the ball sort of mentality in the defensive half of the pitch, and we're not quick enough to make opportunities out of that.
This is where I'm coming from. I don't want it to sound too harsh. I just think go to mid-table team and that kind of attacking threat is a mid-table attacking threat. I just don't think it's good enough to kind of push on. And we've never replaced like an Encham and a Perot up top. I know we're not going to get that quality, but don't you think if we had someone like that, like an Encham in that role and a Perot up top, that we would be scoring goals with the amount of possession we have now? I think there'd be quality there with the amount of ball that we have and the platform that's given to that kind of front unit, that they would create something.
And Cham, especially, when we left, I think we'd signed so many players and we had excitement a bit that summer. People didn't really care too much, but in hindsight, that was a hell of a loss. I know we got good money for him, but
we lost in Cham, Manning, and Perot, and they were our three top scorers. And as soon as you took them out, we did not replace those goals.
And Cham and Manning were two of our best assisters as well, other than Grimes.
But that's to my point. Like, I'm not trying to really be hard on those players. I just think that's where we are. That it's probably going to be like this all season, and we're going to finish mid-table because we haven't got that quality.
Can I just correct something you just said?
Go on.
You said that attacking threat is a mid-table attacking threat.
Yeah.
I'd argue that it's a relegation attacking threat.
You just try to defend.
No. I'm saying that the issue is more tactically than players. Yeah. So that's what I was defending them from. Yeah. But in terms of what we are actually outputting on the pitch, we've scored 8 goals this season. We are joint second bottom scorers.
And we're also third for defence, but the defence isn't sustainable. So therein lies the issue.
So when I say third from bottom, we've got Cardiff on 4 goals, us and Luton on 8, and then there's 2 teams on 9. Sorry, I'm lying. Preston was on 7, so we're third from bottom, joint with Luton. But the fact that 5 teams, only 5 teams, 6 teams, in the whole league have not hit double figures, and we're one of them. We shouldn't really be in 11th right now, based on that sort of stats. And you're right, Ben. The defence kind of props that up, but there's a massive part of that we haven't discussed yet. Sky actually highlighted against Bristol City, and the game that followed. I've never seen Sky's homework, if you like, in the Championship be so on point that the game that then precedes that homework shows that it was spot on. Sky in the Championship, they normally talk the easy points, if you like, but they pointed out what we're saying now about the attack. They also pointed out saying the defence was a little bit ropey and we rely on our goalkeeper ever so much, and that paid dividends again against Bristol on TV after they highlighted both issues. And I just think that says it all to me, really. The defence, yeah, Vigouroux has saved us so many times. People thought we were going to miss Rushworth, but I think he's been our best player this season. And I don't even think it's close. No, actually, Frank was probably up there as well. But those two specifically, if we didn't have those two, I'd be a little bit worried about where we are in the league, I think, personally. Like if it was Fisher in goals, for example. I can't believe some of the saves that Vigouroux has been making in these 3 games that we're discussing. He looked a little bit like sketchy when we first got him. Maybe that was justified because of the lack of football that he's had. But he looks like really, really solid acquisition now, I think. And fair play, he's doing a really good job. He's definitely bailing the defence out a lot. And if you look at SofaScore now again, I know the ratings on here don't really mean much. But he's our highest rated player on SofaScore with a 7.4 average.
Yeah. He's Vigouroux is by far our best player this season, just based on statistics. Just because I think if you take the expected goals against, the goals he's expected to have conceded and how many he's actually conceded, he's outperforming any keeper in the league by a country mile. Yeah, okay, it's only been 9 games. There's not tons to go off. But just to expand on what we were saying, you said we're 3rd lowest in the league. Or was it 3rd lowest for actual goals scored?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the expected goals data, it's close, but we are actually meant to be 3rd lowest. So we're exactly where you'd expect. The only difference is, believe it or not, we should have actually scored a little bit more than we have, but still, it's relegation form for goals scored. But we've got the 3rd best defence in the league on paper, because only Sheffield United and I believe it's Burnley have a better defensive record for us in terms of goals we conceded. But our goals against is 0.67 goals a game, so not even a goal a game. But we should have conceded 1.36 goals a game. So we should have conceded double the goals that we actually have, is the point.
It's quite, it's I don't know, it's just like, it's like on a knife edge, isn't it? It's just quite, if like the defence starts conceding the goals that they should, and we continue to not score goals, we're going to get, we're going to be on the end of some bad results, aren't we? I still don't get a similar theme to what we said before. Like, we've got all this possession, and teams have more chances than us in a game. So,
yeah,
the percentage-wise of teams on the ball and what they create against us, the defence is under so much pressure. Considering every time they get the ball, I'd love to know. It must be like every time they get the ball, they have a shot on target.
Well, say we have on average 60% possession, yeah, and say on average we're getting, I'm just going to make the maths easier, 10 shots, not all on target, just shots, yeah. You're essentially having a shot for every 6% of possession you have, whereas the other team then has got 40% possession and they're having 20 shots. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It really winds me up, actually, because it's like, when you argue for this style of football, I don't mind if a team with less ball is a better team, and as a result they do better things with the ball. But when it's every single game against every team you play against, that's a defensive issue. Because as soon as any team has got the ball against you, they create a chance, and that's what's happening all the time. Now, it didn't happen against Stoke until the second half, but then I think, to be fair, we said how well we played in the first half against Stoke. I know the other teams as well, we had better first half than second half, but I think it was quite clear-cut against Stoke. They were there for a draw for about 60 minutes, but I think that's their plan. And I think we've seen it before all the time. Teams do that, they come, and then they all of a sudden, they're the better team for the last half hour or whatever, where they've still got that energy that they've reserved because they're defending against this passing football that's quite apparently easy to defend against on times if they can do it well. And all of a sudden they come at us and we can't deal with it, and we're like, where's this come from? Where's this come from? Why has it changed? Because they didn't attack us before, but now they are. And every time that happens, like, the team seems to struggle and there's gaps and there's holes. Timon, I don't think has had the best couple of games. I think quite often opportunities are coming down his flank. Now that might be because of him being asked to get forward, but I do think it's a weakness. Not necessarily personnel weakness, but there's a gap there all the time for teams to play into. I think it happens more on his side than Key's side, where there's just a ball to a winger and there's always like, oh my God, where's Timon? He's already been beaten. And if you look, I think it used to happen with Manning as well, to be fair. It used to happen with Manning quite a lot, where the goals we conceded came down that side. But then at the same time, Manning was one of our best attacking threats. So I guess it's getting that balance. Probably trying to do the same thing with Timon. what was it? The mad 10 minutes he had, was it against Sheffield, where I know he conceded the own goal, but then the second half, and then he had a really bad start to the second half, where there was just a few chances that really should have
You
been
could see his head
capitalised
was
on.
gone.
Yeah,
That was because it was clearly because of the own goal. He was like well annoyed at himself, and
Yeah.
it happens. They're human beings. I don't think that's reflective of what he's actually like as a footballer.
no, but they're just
but yeah, it
examples
is
of the
concerning.
chances I'm talking about.
I think
Yeah,
that
exactly.
took the stuffing out of the whole team, that own goal, because like we didn't mention the miss beforehand and then the own goal, and the fact that we were probably the better side in that first half, and to go in 1-0 down with that own goal, I think it just knocked the stuffing out of everyone, didn't it?
Can we talk
And it
about
was
that miss?
encouraging we were the better side. What do you say? Sorry.
Can we talk about that miss for a second?
You go for it. I'm not sure I can relive it.
Yeah.
I just
To the back of my mind.
what did he? I just don't understand how he.
He thought
I
he
just
was
don't
offside.
get it.
That
Yeah,
was
but
evident.
doesn't matter. You played to the whistle. Like that's
I
rule
know
one.
that. I'm just telling you what happened in his head.
Yeah,
He clearly almost knew he was offside, even though the flag.
Take it as target practice, then. Do you know what I mean? Just
no,
put it in
I'm
the
not
net.
disagreeing with you. I'm just telling you what went through his head. He thought he was offside.
Yeah,
He went to take a touch of the ball. He was waiting for the whistle, and the whistle never came. It couldn't have been a shot, because if I was a shot, I could have done better. Genuinely.
I
think you're right. Yeah.
His body shape was facing the corner flag.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it was offside or not, like whether the linesman got it correct. As you say, professional plays the whistle. He was stunned. He was clearly stunned when the flag didn't go up. And
Who played the ball in? Was it
I want to say it was
I can't remember.
It would make sense coming from that side.
I mean, but that's when you're talking about assists earlier. Lee robbed of an assist.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, he should have scored that one.
But I mean, 2 assists in what 8? How many matches has played?
Let's go. Chance to make a game of it here.
How many matches has
Amel Grimes? I want to say it could have been Grimes. Literally, like I said, I don't want to relive it. I'm not sure I can bring myself to bring the highlight up. But
I haven't watched it back since. To be honest, I haven't watched it back.
No, I think I might have watched it directly after the match just to see what happened. Probably annoys myself more, and then put it down.
All I'd say, trying to be, the optimist or whatever, I haven't seen Cullen or Vipotnik make space, make a run like that. Best defense in the league. He's playing against by a country mile, and he's found space in the box to do that. So, I'm trying to find some positives because so far he hasn't had the best of luck when he's on the pitch.
Yeah, sorry. What did you say then again? Sorry, it cut out a little bit for me.
I was just saying his movement in the box. He's against the best defense in the league, and he's found space, to be in an opportunity like that, which our strikers so far this season haven't done. So credit where credit's due for doing that. Trying to find some positives for him because, I'm pretty sure it's his only start. He's been limited to sub appearances so far. And
for Perth Harris, that was
Yeah, you want to root for people and hope that it comes together. I think a goal would have done the world of good there. So I am gutted that, you didn't see it through, but oh well. It's one of those things, hindsight for him, I suppose. He's on loan, he'll learn from it.
Yeah, fair enough. Bristol City game then, anything specific from that we want to highlight before we'll do a quick recap of each 3 game and then we'll move on. So Bristol City, so what was that, 1-1?
1-1, probably more than any of the other 2 games should have been one that we won. Like it should have been 2-0 half time. Different game second half, I'm not saying, but they probably created the least out of anyone, I'd have to say, in the 3 games.
Yeah, it's just still concerning. Like I said, the amount of ball. I was looking at the Bristol City stats earlier, and it was like we had like 65% possession, 2 shots on target, and Bristol City had 6 with 34% possession. It's just, but again, it's that late flurry probably skews the stats a bit. But we're so easy to. I think that's going to epitomise most games. I think the Cardiff game and the Bristol City game, everything seems to be a carbon copy. We go 1-0 up, and I think teams, they're not stupid. We can see it. So teams have analysts and all this, and they're scouting and they're watching. They're not dull. If you're playing against us, you say, right, you just let them have the ball for the first half, see what they can do. Their subs are going to come on, and then we're going to attack them, and they've got no answer for us then. And that's what's happening in every single game, because the late flurry in every game is quite scary.
You saw Stoke played for the second half, didn't you? They had no interest in trying to do anything first half.
No,
Yeah.
no,
They was just
exactly.
get to half time 0-0 and then come out second half a different team.
They knew what they were doing. We bring on our subs as well. And like we said earlier, the bench comes on. It's nowhere near good enough. And I'm sitting there thinking, that, well, I know we're not going to score. So they obviously know it. They know they can push forward because there's no way we're going to score.
I'd
Well,
argue where's Kyrell Wilson and Amar Gavea at this point, to be honest.
Yeah.
The ball coming off the bench. You're playing Abdullahi on the wing, and he's clearly not comfortable there. Play him in midfield if you're going to play him anywhere.
And Sam Parker as well.
Yeah, Bianchini clearly needs to. I think he's coming back from injury still. He's had little minutes, but maybe that's why with Sam Parker. But still, Bianchini clearly isn't at it yet. I'm not saying he can't be, but he looks well off it for now. So, Gavea had a little string of games. Kyrell Wilson, you don't. I feel like Kyrell Wilson's one of those players. He's done well at youth level. You don't truly know what he's going to be like till you at least give him a chance now. You can see
What's it take to get a chance? Like, genuinely, what's it take to get a chance? Sometimes I don't understand it because we're in a position where that's an area of the pitch where there should be a chance.
It baffles me but it seems to happen
all the time.
Every season. I mean, even when we're, I don't know, like say we're 2-0 down, for example, and we're chasing the game, why not chuck on like a Kyrell Wilson or like a Josh Thomas? I know he's gone out on loan, but why not chuck him on the pitch? Why not?
I would have kept Josh Thomas here.
They'll bring on Abdullahi on the wing, and then what? Like, what are we going to do there?
I feel like, based on what we've seen this season so far, there would have been ample opportunity for Josh Thomas to get enough minutes to justify being a third choice striker.
Especially with Cullen.
Because Vipotnik's not even starting when Cullen's injured sometimes, so it's crazy.
He's played 21 minutes in the league for Bromley so far. He hasn't made the squad in 3 of the last 4 games.
Who's that? Josh Thomas?
Yeah.
I mean, that's League 2, yeah, and they just got promoted as well.
Yeah, so they should on paper be one of the worst teams in that league.
Well, maybe he's just not good enough, but everything I've seen of him,
everything I've seen in pre-season, maybe he probably works his butt off, I'd imagine, but I don't know. It's one of those ones.
When he went to Port Vale, it wasn't great either, was there? So
he's one of those players, like he looks like he has pace in behind. He looks like he should be decent, but he's been around a while, and he did have an injury at one point, I suppose. I just don't know why we've never backed him, I guess is what I'm saying.
He was banging him in for fun last pre-season, not this year, last year. That was the first we really thought maybe there was a chance. And then he went on loan, and you think, fair enough. This year now, where we've got striker issues, I don't know.
I understand the need to protect youth players. Like, if you don't think they're psychologically ready, that's something different. There's no way we can know that.
But also, our system, like our club, is being built upon buying younger players, developing them and selling them on. And then we seem to have some talent in the youth that we just don't want to even try. And they just end up leaving for free. And then, and then we'll go and buy a couple of other younger players, do them up and sell them on. But why are we not just trying some of these youth? I know there was a couple last season. We had Sam Parker until he got injured. Gavea was kind of Luke Williams plucked him out. And we haven't seen him this season, which I thought was a bit weird. Abdullahi, Duff brought him in at the start, didn't he? But it's like, out of all the names, I'm not saying Abdullahi can't make it like you just said. We're not saying that. But he doesn't seem to be... He's not playing somewhere that he looks comfortable for a start. No, and he's regularly getting in the squad. And I'm not saying that that's his problem. My argument is, why can other players who actually play in the position that you're putting him into not get a look in? Don't really get it.
His confidence was through the floor when he came on in the last game as well. The pressure in the place, because everyone was, the crowd was on the team's back against Stoke, and him and Bianchini, they were like miscontrolling the ball, and
I felt sorry for him coming on in that position as well. Like Abdullahi, I think it's become a bit of a scapegoat now because he comes on in the wrong position, doesn't he? And people are and when you're coming on late in a game, when you're chasing a game, like it's 0-0 at home, it's always that, like, someone makes a mistake going forward, and it's just heightened, isn't it? Because you're kind of getting desperate for a goal at that point. It's a bad position to be in, and he's getting thrown on in the wrong position. Well, by all accounts, I still don't really know what his position is now. I think it's just a bit of a mystery.
I still think he should be like a Leroy Fer, but that's what I think he is.
Yeah, but I feel sorry for him because I think he's become like kind of the scapegoat for everything that's going on at the minute because he comes on in the wrong position and he gets a bit of stick.
Yeah. I got the stats here, by the way, that you were kind of alluding to. So we got Swansea against Bristol. 66% possession for Swansea. This is the total game, yeah. The XG was 1 for Swansea and 2 for Bristol, actually, which second half most of that came in. Big chances, 1 for Swansea, 4 for Bristol. Total shots, 7 for Swansea, 15 for Bristol. Goalkeeper saves, 7 for Swansea, 1 for Bristol. That's crazy. If I look at
out all of these chances for Bristol at the end or something.
they battered us. They battered us in the second half.
Yeah,
What we're saying, we should have won the game because we should have been 2-0 up at half time, and I think all of a sudden, different game second half. At 1-0, they are always coming back into it. That's, I guess, the argument there. But first, let's break it down. Right, I just read them out as a total. Let's break it down. First half for Swansea, 0.97 XG rather than 1, which was the final result. Bristol's was 1.1 rather than 2.06, so quite equal. Big chances, 1 each. Total shots, 6 for Swansea, 9 for Bristol as his first half. Didn't realise actually that Bristol has so many in the first half. Goalkeeper saves, 2 for Swansea, 1 for Bristol. And then second half, Swansea 0.03 XG in the second half. Bristol 0.88. Big chances, 0 for Swansea, 3 for Bristol. Total shots, 1 for Swansea, 6 for Bristol. And goalkeeper saves, 5 for Swansea, none for Bristol. If you want to look at Sheffield, if I can just get it up. That's not here. Oh no, I got it. I'm not going to do all of them. I'll just do the shots and stuff. Okay, so big chances, 4 for Sheffield, 1 for Swansea. Shots 15-8, and goalkeeper saves 1-3. First half, 1 big chance each, 4 shots each, and 1 save only for Swansea, none for Sheffield. Second half was 3 big chances to Sheffield, none for Swansea. 11 shots to Sheffield, 4 to Swansea. So there's a bit of a theme already. And if we look at Stoke, there's a lot of numbers here, I have to apologise. Overall, actually Swansea had a far better XG than Stoke. It was about 2 to 0.8. 3 big chances Swansea, 1 for Stoke. 19 shots for Swansea, 10 for Stoke. But again, if you break that down for each half, 1.5 of the XG of Swansea came in the first half. 2 of the big chances came in the first half, and 15 shots came in the first half. Stoke basically didn't do anything. I think they had like 3 shots. That's it. Goalkeeper, to be fair for this one, Stoke's keeper did make a few saves, right? So we made 4 saves in the first half, but we kind of pinpointed that with the chances that Ronald missed and so on. If you look at the second half, Stoke clearly turned up a little bit more. I'm not saying they were amazing. They had 0.59 XG. We had 1 big chance each for each team. I can't remember us chance in the second half. Do you remember what it was against Stoke? I think it was quite early in the second half. I can't quite. Was that when he hit the post? Actually, maybe I can't remember.
I don't know if I would count as a big chance. It depends.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. Okay, so I might have been Ronald's one. Actually, I think he had a sitter in the second half. 4 shots to Swansea against 7 for Stoke in the second half. 2 goalkeepers for Swansea against 1 for Stoke. So the swing wasn't quite as big as other games, but I think that's more to do with Stoke perhaps level of the opposition, if you like, on this one. But the trend was clearly there. They didn't want to have a look in the first half, but the better team attacking wise in the second half again. And they're at home as well. Bristol and Stoke were at home, where you'd like to think we can put a more complete performance in for 90 minutes. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a cause for concern. Sorry, there was a lot of talking there, but you can take over now.
Well, I was just going to say, like, to conclude the whole stats roundup, if you're still with us on the numbers, we've talked the last couple of podcasts about, okay, the XG doesn't look good, but it's too early to tell. You have to wait 10 games. Well, it's been 9 games now, and the trend's actually continued and arguably got worse. So, yeah, we're in 11 for 12 wherever we are right now. You'd probably snap your hand off if that's where we are come the end of the season, because right now I think we're a couple of injuries away from, possibly a dire run of form, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Performance, we look like a pretty team, and we continue to. Like, credit where credit's due. We went Sheffield United with a couple of changes. Everyone looked at the lineup, wrote us off. Really unlucky to go in 1-0 down half time. But the issue I'm seeing is we're looking like a nice team without actually producing the goal scoring opportunities. If we were having the opportunities and not converting them, that's different. They'll come eventually.
Yeah.
But we're still just not seeing it. There is something that we need to evolve a bit more. I feel like long term, yeah, we probably will, see slight improvement over time. But in the immediate short term, I wouldn't be surprised if come Christmas, the rate we're going, if we're in 17th to 20th sort of region in the table, honestly.
Yeah. I think some of the results have masked it. I mean, like, at one point, I don't know how we were like 7th when we were 6th, and then I think we look back and we thought,
3 points off
we
top.
held on, if we'd held on like against Cardiff, we would have been, like 3rd or something. But I think again that kind of highlights the quality of the championship for me again, because I think there's probably a lot of poor teams there as well, and I think we are one of them sometimes. But yeah, I was trying to explain to people, like, people that don't watch the Swans a lot, and like when I'm in work and stuff, people are like, oh, you're doing really well, like 7th in the table. I was like, I have no idea how, because I'm watching us, and I've watched so many, like the Norwich game again, for example, like they battered us in the second half, and Bristol. I just think I have no idea how we are where we are, but I think it's kind of leveling out now with these 3 games that we're talking about, isn't it? Like this kind of the performances, the results are matching the performances that we put in.
Yeah, and arguably the performances were perhaps overall a little bit better in those 3 games than some of the games we actually got wins out of, which is nuts. And the games we've lost as well have all been by like 1 goal, which and to be fair, if you pick the ones that we've lost, the teams that you would not have an issue losing against.
I know, but West Brom should have put 4 in the first half against us. That was they proper battered us in that first half. But maybe, I don't know. I think maybe again, we've said this before, but I think like the level of possession probably masks it.
Yeah, I think on paper, if you just see the information there on paper, it doesn't look as bad. When you watch it on the pitch, you can see clear problems.
I was just going to say, sorry, as well, the stat that's still going somehow. I think, as long as this is true, I haven't verified this myself, but since we were founded in 1912, this is the first season we've gone this many games and we haven't conceded more than 1 goal in a single game. So if you look at every single time we've lost or drawn or whatever, we've only conceded 1 goal, 1-0 to Borough, 1-0 to West Brom, 1-0 to Sheffield United, 1-1 against Bristol City, beat Coventry 2-1, 1-1 against Cardiff. The rest have been clean sheets. We haven't actually conceded 2 goals in the game yet. We definitely should have.
Yeah, it's mad. Like the Sheffield United game in the second half, where they hit the post and the bar.
And this is what's concerning. If you look at Borough, West Brom, and Sheffield United, all 3 of those teams probably should have put 3 past us easily. Yeah. Cardiff probably should have scored again. Coventry had a chance to make it 2-2. Norwich, how we kept a clean sheet there is beyond me. So there are worrying signs that, yes, I think we're very fortunate in the results we picked up.
Middlesbrough should have put a few past us.
Yeah. Stoke and Sheffield United, there was some encouragement in there, but didn't get the results.
It's really... Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, upcoming now, Blackburn, Sheffield Wednesday, Millwall, and X3. You just got... I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of games in there where we can see 2 or 3, is what I'm saying. I feel like it's bound to happen at some point.
I've got a question. What happens when one of Cabango and Darlin gets injured?
Nelson Abbey.
Okay, I forgot about him, to be fair, but does he convince you?
No, but equally, the only time I've seen him play is in that horrific Wickham game where we had Shoahon, Pedersen,
I guess you got him.
So I'm not going to judge him off that.
Abbey, Pedersen, and Norton, I guess, are there available. But does it make you feel better going forward about who's there to step in when one of them goes?
I'm surprised why, they're not one of the. We'll come on to it later, but we're looking at free agents. Why one of them is not a centre half? I have no idea. Because it's clear, like we can all see it that we are. Like you've said, we're one injury, but if illness or something away from.
So there's 5 players that can play in centre half. Now I guess the argument there is you're saying about free transfers. Is there a free transfer that's better than Pedersen, Abbey, or Norton? And Norton I wouldn't even have an issue with. It's just his fitness. Like if you're relying on him week in week out, like we're having Cabango and Darlin week in week out, he can't, can he? So there'll have to be another one as well as him. I don't know if a free transfer comes in and does a better job than any of them 3.
I guess it depends who's out there, but I don't know. Can you play Norton as a 2?
I think
I wouldn't have an issue.
Yeah, honestly. I think he's actually gone up a level, which is nuts. Like to rely on him for 90 minutes, yeah, it's a bit more difficult. I feel like Abby would have to come on for the last half hour, maybe. But
I think he's just more like, I don't know if he's gone up a level, but what I think it is he's a talented footballer and a technical footballer who's got a good footballing brain. And as much as the physical side of him might be leaving him as he gets older, he's got that football brain that other players might not have and make up for with the physical.
Yeah, I mean, he can. He's streetwise enough, isn't he now? Like he's like you said, he's got the technical ability to kind of be in a position where he doesn't need to use physical attributes to get out of danger. He'll be in the right place. His positioning is good.
Yeah.
So I think I just think if one of them goes down, as much as I love Norton, because I think he's a great player, you can't rely on him to see out a season.
I tell you who is available on free. Sergio Ramos.
Yeah. Get him in. Put him up front.
But yeah,
do you want to talk about why we're in?
Yeah, we can go on to the free transfers now. I was just going to end on saying, I probably am a little bit. I've been talking about these things all season though, and I think the results have made people think, maybe it'll be okay. Maybe, but I think do you think we're at a stage now where it's fair enough to say these are concerns?
Well, 10 games is always what I say. It's been 9, so yeah. Close enough. I feel like.
Yeah, I think it's just a weird one because I think even for me, I got a bit caught away, got caught off guard with the position in the table and the results. You started thinking, we haven't played that well. If we can start playing well and win this position, maybe we can make a realistic push for like playoffs or something.
I just want to
get caught up in that, and then, but the performances have just carried on the same.
Yeah, they have.
And the results are starting to match. And I think when I did the prediction for Sheffield United, I think I did something ridiculous like 4-0 or something. But I think that one of them is coming. Like the way that we're playing, it could have happened already. I think one of them is coming. We are going to get a good beating soon. But maybe it's what we need to kind of highlight that this is actually really a problem.
Probably like a Sunderland, Burnley, or Leeds or something like that now. I just wanted to say, first of all, I think I want a little bit of credit because I've been talking about these things since day one this season. Just saying.
And then
just putting that out there.
On the back of that, can we go to the prediction table?
Yeah, and then I want to say that's why I wanted to say it, because as much as I might not be performing that well in the predictions league, I think the reason for that is because I've been talking about these issues. I've highlighted all these issues that everyone's now accepting I was correct with. And my predictions have been in line with these issues, whereas the results haven't. That's the problem.
Right.
So I just want the credit there on the analysis of Swansea City at the moment.
All right.
But then you go into the predictions.
Use your imaginary trophy. Now let's get down to business, talk about the actual points in the predictions table, shall we?
Yeah.
No, basically, technical issues. I can't actually display it, sorry, but I'll just give you the total points. I'm on 15, Lee's on 11, and Luke, who is our master analyst, is on 6 points. So hasn't quite transpired with the results.
But this is what I mean. We shouldn't have won 3 games. This is what I'm arguing. To be fair, what I said one. What did I say? 1-1 against Stoke.
You only have one.
Did I say 1-0 or 1-0?
Yeah, you went 2-2 against Stoke, and it was 0-0. You went 1-1 against Sheffield United, and could have been 1-0.
That should have been 1-0. I got robbed there. I got robbed of a Miles Pert Harris, right? As literally, he's done the equivalent of going to the bookies, right, and click in the wrong box on the accumulator that you just signed up to put in.
This is awful.
It could have been 1-1. It could have been 3-0. It's one of those. It's like
he literally robbed me. Hands. He thought he was offside.
The Bristol City result.
I watched the SwansCast podcast last night, and Luke said 1-1. I'm going to miss this. That's what he's done.
The Bristol City game, I had correct at 1-1. You went 1-0, and if we're being honest, that was I think it could have
again. We should have been 2-0 up. So Social might not got a correct result. You shouldn't have had the correct result, and I should have had. Correct score.
Let's have a should have table.
Yeah, let's have a should have table. I'll be top. And what I will say as well is, I don't know if you want to go into a WhatsApp group and get a timestamp that I said in there. This is ending 0-0, and I got questioned.
This is an awful.
I got questioned.
Being bottom of the table.
And what was the score? 0-0.
Well, it's easy to say after you've watched the first.
Yeah, but it was
40
like after
minutes,
10 minutes. I was like, this is ending.
Yeah,
Talk,
0-0.
talk,
10 minutes.
talking like a manager on the verge of sack there, I think.
Nah. Look, I'm a football manager, right? We're 7th.
And if
And
we're being honest,
39 games in.
this feels like it's turned into a debate now. Nobody listening actually cares, probably. But no, you said this is going to end 0-0, and that was after about 10 minutes. The next 20 minutes, we probably should have put 2 past them. So,
Yeah,
so,
but we
like,
didn't.
we're
And I
going on
could.
shutdown.
I just
We're
saw
going on
we missed 1 or 2 chances, and you just knew at that point they're not scoring today.
Well, anyway, are we going to do one before Blackburn? No, probably. So we should
Let's
probably
just do it
predict
now because
that
it's done
now.
out of the way, innit?
Yeah.
Blackburn, let's have a look. They are 8th in the league, 15 points, 3 more than us. They've lost the last 2 games, though. Are we home or away?
We're away.
They just lost 3-0 to Coventry and 2-1. We did predict them to have a bad season. Is the bubble bursting?
Probably
I'm going to go
not.
1-1.
1-1. All right. Lee,
I'm going to go 2-0 Blackburn.
2-0 Blackburn. I mean, actually, looking at the XG table, they're 18th. We're 22nd, mine, so it's not saying much. But yeah, they probably
0-0 then.
Oh, here we go. Luke will come back to this now and say, I should have said 0-0. I said 1-0.
You're going 1-0. You're going 1-0.
No, I go
We're
1-0.
saying
1-0 I am.
You're going 1-0.
But
I
on
go
the
1-0
shouldn't have
Swans.
table, he'll be there.
We haven't scored
1-0.
for like a long time. So
1-0 Swans, Liam Cullen just before the stroke of half time, then hang on second half. I'll even go as specific as that.
Nice, I like it.
no bonus points.
If that comes off, I'm calling it a win for the season. There's no point carrying on then. So
Yeah. I'd go one more point I wanted to make before we look at the free transfers. And I want to ask a question more than anything. Do you think Luke Williams, because historically had Notts County and he started it here until he quickly changed 5 at the back system. That's what worked really well at Notts County, yeah?
Mm.
So imagine you got the 2 wing backs doing the wide areas, whereas in the 4 at the back he's got 2 wing backs and 2 wingers. Now he's got less to aim for in the middle because he's got these 4 wide players instead of 2 doing the same job essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in his 5 at the back system he had a little bit more in the middle of the park. Do you think him trying to implement his style of play with a 4-3-3, if you like, is part of the issue when he's had success doing it this way with a 5 at the back system, with the like wing backs doing more the heavy lifting out wide, not relying on the forward play? Like maybe that means when the cam or the central attacking player drifts wide, it's not as big of a concern because there's not as many bodies there. Do you think that's part of it? Maybe.
Possibly. All I'd say is 2 things. We had the wing back system under Duff, and it was horrific. Hence why we made a clear choice in the transfer market to recruit to move away from it. And also, I feel like as a manager, you've got to be adaptable enough so that you can implement your philosophies that isn't just based around one system, one formation, because that seems too rigid.
Yeah.
Yes, he had success at Notts County with this, probably because his Notts County squad was more suited to that style of play. Now, obviously, we've recruited for wingers. I know Janelli's still on the sidelines, but we've made that decision now. I feel like we need to back him over a long term, and he needs to back himself.
I'm not saying we should change it back, but I was just wondering if that's part of the issue. And with your point about managers being flexible, maybe he's gone up from League 2 to the Championship, so it's a learning curve for him as well. And it's fine if we afford him the time to learn. Maybe it takes a few years, and maybe he gets there, okay. But if he's not afforded the time to learn, is he just not quite there yet as a manager to realise that, and maybe he hasn't got that flexibility? Is that a conversation? I'm not saying sack him, but it doesn't mean you can't acknowledge what level he is at. Doesn't mean he won't be getting better and improving all the time. That's fine. And if we're on board for that journey, that's okay as well. If that's if we acknowledge it, I think that's fine. It's when it's not acknowledged, and that's when it becomes a problem maybe. But do you think that's part of what's going on here?
I think it's fair, and it's also what Swansea managers are sort of known for, and they improve with the team, they improve with the club, and that's often, by the time they are at the required level, they usually get poached. That's usually how it works, isn't it?
Yeah, but I also think as well, I think it depends on what our expectations are. Like, again, I go back to me criticising those players. I'm criticising them on the basis that it's not enough to probably have a playoff push, but it might be enough for us to be like a mid-table team. if that's where our expectations are, he's probably doing an okay job. Like he would probably, if we finish in mid-table, then he's done the job with what we all think is probably a poor squad. If we had a bit more strength in depth, and we still weren't scoring goals, or we had a bit more quality, then I think you could probably be a bit more critical of him. I think maybe tactically maybe gets a few things wrong. He said he's learning, but I don't know. I think it's a really difficult one because I'm really not sure where we are. I think we're really in a bit of limbo. Again, like I said, we're on a knife edge in terms of the season, but I think we're kind of on a knife edge in terms of like the club moving forward as well. Because I really don't know where we are.
I think
we're a couple of players. Maybe Franco's been a really good signing, but he probably won't stick around for long. Grimes has been here forever. I think when these players start to go again, I just think, I don't know where we are. I'm not sure where the expectation sits at the minute.
I think the expectation this season was around mid-table. I think that's fair, and that's where we are. I don't agree. I don't know. I wasn't at the Stoke game. Obviously, I watched it on the telly, but you're saying it got a bit toxic, yeah?
Towards the end when the subs
I don't think it's fair to get toxic. We're not at a stage where it's at all justifiable for that, right? I understand the frustration, but like in terms of expectation, we technically on paper we're meeting expectations. 11th in the league. I think I had us around 12th. That's probably where we should be, where we are. Okay, where I would expect us to be this season. I'd like to think we can progress from last season, considering where we finished last season. After the season we had, that little bit higher this season, I don't think should be off the cards. I think that should be realistic. I think the I think the frustration is you can see how close it is to that little bit more, and that little bit more being that playoff push. It's literally so close, yet so far. And it's kind of like you're a dog with a bone on a stick in your head, you know what I mean? That's kind of what it feels like a little bit. Because obviously all of this is true. The expectation is mid-table, probably where we are. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of progress still ahead. But you can see it all there when it works. It's just that one thing that's missing, or one or two things that's missing. And I think that's what's quite hard to take at the moment, because especially the last 3 games, when you see them first halves, you don't score the goals, and then the results will come afterwards. And when that's every game, essentially, I think it's just frustrating, isn't it? It's a frustrating situation. But that's part of the journey, and I understand that. It's just...
I go back to the quality of the players again. I think I know we're probably never. You're asking for a lot, but if we had a Perot, so the header he scored against Sunderland, if you had a Perot,
I think Perot even struggles in this team.
They'd have a field day. If Perot was dropping deep, and Cullen was up front, then I think it would be dangerous. Honestly,
but if he was Perot,
quality.
If it was Perot just playing there, not Perot and Cullen, if it was Perot in this system with Cooper, he wouldn't be able to drop deep, would he? Because if he did drop deep, there would be no one there.
No, but I mean, if you had, because again, I think I've said it before, when we had Cullen and Perot playing together, they looked so good together.
Yeah. I guess that comes down to his tactics, though, and what he's doing in it.
You're asking for a 20-goal season striker. It's just
we're never getting Perot back anyway, guys.
And don't forget, Russell Martin didn't even want him.
But I just mean like a quality striker, which everybody wants, or a quality 10. I think that is the difference. I think if you had a quality player in there, I think we'd be laughing.
Who's doing well? The players that we missed out on. Mundell, he's doing all right, isn't he?
I don't know if we can really say Mundell. Without watching Sunderland loads, that just feels like a team on fire. So I feel like you could chuck Ji-Sung in that team and he'd be on fire. I feel like Ronald would probably do decent. You know what I mean? It's like this all come together for them at the same time.
He's their top performing player on SofaScore in the top of the league.
I'm just saying, if you stuck Mundell in that team now, I don't think you'd see the same Mundell that they have. I guess.
No. Okay, fair. But I just mean but you can only judge what you see, yeah. And he was a player that we were heavily linked with. Who's the other one? Tyrese Campbell.
Yeah,
he's doing all right. Yeah, I think from what
he's playing. He's starting against us ahead of.
And who's the one who went to Oxford? The one we had, Providence.
Oh, I was thinking of
He
Header.
went abroad then, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay, let's not judge him then. Mundell scored 3 goals. Didn't realise that.
But it could, you're saying about like Luke Williams. It could, like you said, it could just be a work in progress. I think, from all accounts, like Sunderland's been a bit of a slow build. They came up, didn't they? I think they sneaked in the playoffs one year, didn't they? And then they've kind of just been hovering around mid-table, and now they're striking at the right time.
Well, Sunderland, I think they had quite a quick rise, didn't they? When they came up, they had one season where it was about mid-table, and then they've been at the top really ever since.
Well, they got in the
They
playoffs
suffered last year. They dropped all the way down to
Yeah,
15.
yeah. That was a bit of a silly manager sacking, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They got a young side as well, haven't they? They got some quality players.
Yeah, they've got some good. And I don't know how much they paid for him, but they must have paid a decent fee for Bellingham.
For 4 mil, I think it was.
That seems a bit of a.
That
We never make that move, do we? We never make that move, that sort of move. And I guess it was that guy that went to Celtic in the end that would have been that sort of move. O'Reilly, is it?
Yeah, it's 1.5 mil. It's just the fact it was up front because it was a buyout.
But we're not taking that risk, are we? We're never taking that risk on someone that could be that person.
Florian Brancini, 1.8 mil. That's the definition of risk, isn't it?
I forgot we paid 1.8 million.
That's sad.
On that note, Cyrus Christie and Adam Reach, is it?
Yeah, let's look at the free transfers that are going to come in to fix our problems. Do we need a right back? Like, I know you said the other day, Christie, you would take him back, right? And I'm not saying I wouldn't have him in the squad, but do we need him?
I honestly think it's so that Norton can cover a centre back if he needs to, because currently you've got Norton
And
covering
left
right
back, I guess.
and right centre back.
And he's been covering for Timon when Timon stopped playing instead of Choa on. So maybe he wants to make Norton the second choice left back and centre back.
On that note, at left back, Adam Reach, you by trade as a centre mid, but most recently at West Brom was playing left back.
How old's Adam Reach?
31. Injury prone is the thing. I wouldn't have him more than a year, but yeah.
What was the story with Christie and being too old and Routledge being his agent?
So he went on a podcast, I think it was quite soon after he joined Hull. This was back in the Russell Martin era now. And obviously he was available on a free transfer from Fulham, I believe, at the time. Put down as wages was the reason we didn't sign him. But he basically just told the truth about the story, that the deal was on the table for him to sign, of some sort, and he wanted to. But then the American owners pulled the plug because they said he was too old and there's no value there. It would have been a free transfer and he was 30 years old. Now here we are 2 years later looking to sign 32-year-old free transfer as Cyrus Christie.
And that was off the back of a good season he had for us as well when he played.
Yeah, I want to say it was...
half a season he had, didn't he?
Yeah, he played well.
I want to say it was 3 goals. Was it 3 goals, 5 assists or something stupid like that?
He was really good for us.
He came in when Laird got recalled.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would have kept him then.
That was probably up there, that half a season with the best side we've had in the Championship. That was Hannes Wolf. That was Cyrus Christie. That was Perot, Flynn Downs. Yeah.
That was a great side.
But Russell Martin had a worst finish in the Championship with that team. Just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah, what I mean is, for the last, how many games was it? Was it 9 games?
Oh, sorry, other than last year.
7 wins, 2 draws.
Yeah, that last...
It clicked into place. It did click into place. I understand there were lone players in there. But our best chance of probably...
Well, that wasn't that season where we had that last run of games. That was the season after. That was before you went.
Yeah. I thought it was with Hannes Wolf who was 7. Oh, Christ, yeah.
The team with Christie was in his first year because you had Laird in the first half of the season.
Did we not finish that
and then Christie
as well, though?
He had Sorinola in his second year.
Oh, Christ, how did he manage that, man?
No, it was the second season. That was a really strange one because we went on that really...
Yeah, that was when we had the really good end. Yeah.
And then the end of the season, we kept winning games.
And
because I think at that point I went to Hull away, and we booked to go to Hull away because we were thinking we might actually sneak in the playoffs here. It got to a point where we were actually... I think we were only a couple of points. We needed results.
We needed to win all of our games in the end.
Yeah, really. Results needed to ridiculously go our way as well, but we actually got in within the chance. And I think we played Hull on the Saturday. It was the last game. It was either last game of the season or it was last but one. And we went to Hull away. And I think somebody had won on the Friday night, and that mathematically put us out with 2 games left.
Yeah.
But that run was good. That we nearly sneaked in.
Well, we should have been in the playoffs that season because that run came when he decided to screw his head back on after he stopped throwing his toys out of the pram because he didn't get backed. And what was it? What was the run before it? Like 2 wins and 3 wins in 24 or something stupid.
Horrific. Yeah.
Now,
it's
literally
the sort of one that anyone else
you
would have got sacked through.
pick 2 games out of them 24, and we would have been in the playoffs. And one of them games included a 2-0 home lead against Millwall that ended 2-2 somehow in injury time. And what was the one against? Who was it? 3-2. We were 2-1 up, and it ended 3-2 in injury time. Was it Birmingham? Yeah. There's 2 games right there that would have put you in the playoffs that season. So this is why I don't rate him as high. Well, let's not get into that. But it was Christie in the first season and Sorinola the second season. So where was he after that? He went to Hull, didn't he, Christie?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a good backup for Josh Key, wouldn't he? I just don't know how much. Depends on his wage demands, I guess. But my concern is, like, why are we not looking at strikers?
Well, maybe we are. These are just the 2 that we know of. It depends what's out there as well.
Yeah,
Didn't you say Kamara?
I don't know what we're. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to pick up as a striker now, and I don't know what are we going to get anyone.
Kemar Roof hasn't been reported on, is it? That's very much just like through the grapevine. I think is.
Yeah.
Do you realistically think
injury-prone players? There's a reason they're free agents. Cyrus Christie missed basically almost all of the second half of last season through injury. Never really got back into Hull's team. Adam Reach missed the first half of the season. I think he only completed 90 minutes twice last year, from what I can see. Adam Reach. So
Balassi around? In all seriousness, though, do you think we're actually going to sign either?
Christie's more likely, I'd say, because he's been here before. I think he slot in a bit easier.
Is it Routledge just trying to get him into the club he knows best?
I mean, he's his agent. I feel like he'd probably be someone we look at regardless. Like maybe now's a good time to mention that obviously Paul Watson's left. I know we haven't talked about it at all yet.
Yeah, we'll move on to that then. Paul Watson's left.
as soon as he's left, now we've got 2 people in the building for agents who are over the age of 30, which like sort of goes away with what our transfer strategy's been over the summer.
But I want to say that Paul Watson, because you asked this in the chat, Lee, I don't think he was here when we had Christie and that negotiation was ongoing for him to stay the first time.
No, I don't think he was. No, I don't think he was in at the time when.
I think he came within that season, but he wasn't there that summer, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going on the Paul Watson leaving. Is it gonna change massively? I don't know.
So Ben, you were saying maybe that he had a bit of a dressing down in the summer and wasn't doing that much anymore.
I didn't think he was doing that much anymore. I saw a photo of him. I think it was from his like Facebook profile or something, and he was on holiday somewhere 2 weeks before the window closed. See what I mean? Like, is that really something?
Has he been on gardening leave? Maybe
would be doing. Say again.
I wonder if he's been on gardening leave.
Possibly. We do this now. Some people just leave. I forget who it was we had before. We had like City and Rangers links. They just left the club without saying a word. They were just gone. It's you do see it now for some reason. Maybe it's football in a wider extent, not just us, but people just. Who's the head of? Not head of. Is the head of recruitment now? We didn't even announce him publicly. He's available to look up online, but normally we have like an article. I'd have to look up his name to even know who he is.
I don't really
talk about him publicly.
Unless I go in and do some reading on it and remind myself, I would have known when I've seen stuff.
Do you think?
But like, I don't really know the structure like I would used to know the structure.
That's what I mean. I was saying earlier about like where, like I just don't know where the club is at the minute, like behind the scenes as well.
And I feel like it changes like all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
The last time I really felt comfortable with it was when Trevor Birch was there. And ever since then, I just feel like there's been new positions added, there's been new roles added, there's been more people added, and it's like what are they all doing? Like, what are their roles?
I feel like jobs for boys half the time. Some of the people who get hired into positions, like you say, that are made up, they don't feel like real jobs. To answer your question, Martin Hodge, head of recruitment now, been there a year, never really made a big fuss about it, did we?
To be fair, I was just wondering, do you think it's because of the stick that Paul Watson just used to get?
Maybe.
Just
I feel like it probably did go a bit too far. Like they took a risk and did the fans forum, and Paul Watson was there, and to his face he got called all sorts. It must have, like, just from a human level, that was awful.
Maybe he wanted to
honestly.
leave then.
Or probably, like at that point, you don't feel like you can walk down the street in town, do you? It's like,
yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. I know people were in uproar, and yeah, we didn't have we didn't have great signings over the time, but like, I don't know, not enough. It wasn't bad enough for me to like hate the guy. Like some people absolutely were ridiculous. I don't understand it. We made some bad signings. We made some good signings. Like every other championship club, it just seemed to be all on him.
I think last year's transfer window has been, it's labelled as one of the worst, which I think is an over the top reaction. I think.
For what we spent is up there, mind. At least you have with the other transfer windows, you can fall back on the fact that we were supposedly skint and didn't spend anything. All of a sudden, we have £7 million, and that's how we spent it.
Yeah, I'm not defending it because I think there were some bad signings, but I think at the time, when some of the players came in, we were like, oh, this is looking alright, this is looking good. They didn't work out.
Yeah, it's easy to say when it didn't work out, but like on paper and the signings they brought in at the time, there's one or two questionable ones. Mikola's probably one of them. Actually, I think he's probably the only one. I don't think Yates isn't questionable in terms of the decision making to bring him in.
No, on paper.
And that's where I struggle to say clubs made a mistake here, because half the championship wanted him, if not more. So how can you go and say, you've been injured at the start of the season? I think he's played since, yeah. You haven't scored yet, I think, last I checked. But like, what I'm saying is how can you say? I just, last season's hard to judge players anyway. He actually wasn't a bad signing until Duff got sacked. That's the reality. Like, you signed for Duff, and he scored 7 goals, and Duff got sacked in November. 7 goals by November is getting you near 20 by the end of the year at that rate. Just, if you're doing the maths. Now, after Duff went, he didn't really score. I think he scored 1 goal after Duff got sacked. Now, that's not good enough, fair. And I'm not trying to argue for Duff here. What I'm saying is, Yates was signed for Duff, scored 7 goals for Duff. When Duff went, he wasn't scoring anymore. And I'm not saying Yates was playing amazing when Duff got sacked, but the team wasn't necessarily. And I just think it's easy to say he wasn't good enough. I don't think we spent a fortune on him, to be fair. Considering his
3 mil plus Kyle Joseph.
No, but I do think, so we're selling 20 goal striker Perot for what, 15?
11, potentially rising to 15. I don't think we've seen any of the add-ons yet.
Right. And then you buy in, even if it's 7 goals for 3 million. If you're doing that maths, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is stuff we've obviously talked about before, but the reason it fell apart was we recruited entirely for Duff's system. Paul Watson came in, tried to rip up the status quo with how we, viewed our philosophy on the pitch.
And that's fine. That's a different argument.
With the whole thing of Whittaker went away for £1 million when he had 2 years in his deal. He's now like a 10, 50 million pound player, which I think most of us predicted at the time. Then we sack the manager, and then we're left with an imbalanced squad, which doesn't have a style of play. So that's why he's
and I get that. And that's,
he's been sacked for his, very, very first few months in the job, which, eventually, clearly.
Well, we had the warnings, didn't we, from Luton fans? But they're all fine. I haven't got an issue with them reasons. I'm just saying about last year's transfer window in general. I think it gets a more bad rep than it really should.
Yeah, no, I think everything said has been right. I just think the criticism was way over the top for what it was. I think criticism was fair. But he was literally blamed for everything that ever went wrong with the club.
But I think there's a worse transfer window under the Americans as owners, and that's the one before we got relegated from the Premier League. And again, I think you can say a lot of the players they signed there, but if you're talking about the finances involved, that's what crippled the club in that season.
I think that Paul Watson didn't help himself when he was sat next to Nathan Jones as well. Remember that?
No.
One of the games.
I mean, there's a lot of other reasons that you can say.
And other rumours that are floating around now as well. But
probably we won't touch on those rumours.
Let's not get into allegation territory. We might have a cease and desist. That seems to be the trending thing, with parties and all the rest of it that's going on these days.
But if he hasn't, if he hasn't been involved in the last window, then we're probably in good hands, because I think, the signings of Franco and Vigouroux they've been fine, haven't they? They've been good. So
Yeah.
You are on about the rumour of Watson being at Diddy's house, didn't you?
I think that's probably worse.
I'm only joking.
One last
Sorry,
one last
Beyonce's
thing
not
I'd
listening.
say.
It's fine. She's not.
One last thing I'd say, just with the window just gone. I know we needed to spend because we had no squad left, but 7 mil, hell of a lot of money. I know, Luke, you don't like Russell Martin. One thing I feel like it's hard to deny, though. Look at the track record of players we spent on and brought in. Perot,
I wasn't in.
Obafemi, Downs. Those are just a few
Pro's no
examples.
Martins. Pro is no Russell Martins.
In that era, though, you get what I mean?
He was
They're
brought in.
examples of when we spent money and we created massive assets. Perot left
Yeah.
for 11, Downs left for 11. Obafemi went for 4 at a time where we probably could have got 8 for him.
Downs, I would say, I would give credit to Martin for. Obafemi, you can question
Wasn't he,
Martin's management of him.
Wasn't he in
Well.
before? I'm sure Obafemi and Perot were in before Martin.
No,
Obafemi wasn't. Perot was in before Cooper got left.
It's basically Obafemi was basically a straight swap in a way. We sold Lowe for 1.5 mil, then bought Obafemi for 1.5 mil same day.
I don't have that many people that I would say Russell Martin, like Perot's the one that stands out in terms of like someone that excelled, but he didn't sign him. Darlin, yes, but I think he's got better since Martin's left. Actually,
Nathan Wood,
I
0.5 mil.
I mean,
We were turning down 8 million, 9 million pound offers.
Nathan
It was
Wood.
the thing,
Okay,
it's
Nathan
20
Wood
million.
was, to be fair, Nathan Wood was good in Martin's year under him. Probably wasn't good the year he left. To be fair, so I would say okay, fair enough. Nathan Wood's probably another one to put on his list in the 2 years. So we've got Downs and Wood, yeah.
Ryan Manning, he probably turned from a 1 million pound player.
But he was
into a
already
5
at the
million
club
player.
though, and he only started. Well, did he play instead of Bidwell from a
He was
start?
second.
Manning was good. Manning was good under Cooper as well, because they kind of
Was he though? He was second
kinda-
choice under Cooper, wasn't
no, I think he
was
nailed
good
down
s-
the place in the end. He kind of pushed Bidwell out then, didn't he? Because they kept trying to move Bidwell into the like left centre back.
Oh,
instead,
yeah.
And that was a disaster. But he kind of took over then. I think he started coming into his own under Cooper.
Yeah, I wouldn't
he was playing
credit
the
Martin
five.
with Manning.
Manning was great under Martin as well. Though. He played
Yeah, no, I'm not saying players didn't play well. Grimes was great under Martin, but do you think that means he should get the credit for him?
No, just if he's made players better. But like Fisher as well was probably a bad signing. You wanted him from MK Dons.
Yeah, and he was
overall
a
point,
Martin signing all over.
The overall point I was trying to make, because I feel like we've gone on a bit of a tangent now anyway, was when we gave that recruitment team and that manager money to spend.
Yeah.
I know some of those players were there already, but money to spend, we were able to create assets out of them and create a function inside. So when you Paul Watson for £7 million, that was more than enough money to make basic decisions. If the system wasn't there to recruit properly, yeah, you don't need to spend the money yet.
Okay, but
So
I'm not trying to defend Paul Watson, but Josh Key last summer, if you sold him now, you'd probably make profit on him, a decent amount, yeah?
we haven't paid for him yet, you know that.
No, but if we
It
did,
went-
you'd
Yeah,
probably...
went to tribunal, it still hasn't
Yeah.
solved, which I find
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
I thought they had a fee resulted out of that in the
No.
end. I thought
So
Exeter was
it-
just appealing it.
Yeah, we offered £500,000. They said no, it's on the tribunal. It still hasn't been sorted out.
Okay, so there's that anyway. And I would say Ronald.
Yeah.
Is he one that would you credit him with that one? If people,
Well,
I mean, if we're talking about
um,
Ronald at the start of the season to now, maybe he hasn't really highlighted himself in the market this season so far.
This is the thing where we don't know, see, because that Martin Hodge came in October. We signed Ronald in January. So was that even Watson?
Yeah,
I don't
fair.
know. We don't know these things now, do
Thing
we?
is, yeah, like I didn't know. I didn't
Timon.
know when this Hodge came in because the signings have been better.
Timon
Timon is probably out of the 15. I'm trying to think of other ones who came out with credit. But
you
you
can't include the loans. Arthur Russell Martin's loans weren't great. Soranola's one of them. Or we've got like...
can include the loans.
All right, but if you
Fair
want
one,
to include the loans, I just don't think... I think the loans have been not great ever since Cooper left. So... Do you know
I'd
what I
argue
mean?
even under Russell Martin, you had Hannes Wolf in there.
Yeah, he's probably the one that stands out. The right
But yeah.
backs, the two right backs we signed as well, Led and Christie, they were okay. who's that? Oko Flex. He's not amazing.
God knows who
The other guy, Kalulu, was there? Was he Martin?
He was Cooper. He was.
Yeah,
Never
he was
mind.
Cooper.
Take that back. Nice one, Cooper.
But it's always the same. It's the same. I think you always get. We always have some.
Yeah,
dodgy
it's up
ones
and down.
sometimes every
But this is what I'm trying to
year. We had
highlight. I
that
think
Stoke
last
junior
summer
last year, didn't we?
we had more players last year, so you had a bigger selection to criticise. When say you've got 5 players and 2 of them don't work and 3 do, whereas if you've got 13 players and 7 of them don't work and 5 do, it's about the same ratio. It's just you could sign 13 of them, and yeah, okay, that maths was awful. I didn't add that up properly, but still, you know what I'm trying to say. It's just because there was so many of them, it was easier then when you say 5 of them didn't work out. Oh my god, that's a waste of money.
How many out of the 15 do you think worked?
Depends what. So if you in context of a season and who had an impact in our squad, right? And I'm what I'm going to say is, as you said earlier, they were signed for Duff. So Patino, until Duff got sacked, everyone loved him. You've got to put him in as a. At that time, he was signed for that manager. At the end of the season,
I can't put Patino in there.
No,
I can't.
I personally wouldn't either. But what I'm by the case of this conversation, right? It's easy to say by the end of the season when you've got Alan Sheehan and you've got Luke Williams, half of them players weren't playing anymore. That's fine. But they were signed for Michael Duff for that style of playing.
Duff, though, we acknowledged he was good dribbling on the ball.
Yeah, we did.
Even we picked up when everyone was in the Patino fan club. He is easy to dispossess, and he could be an issue going forward.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with you.
Was poor, but again, going back to when we signed him, on paper, everyone was excited.
No, but
because he'd done well for Blackpool, and we thought, he's going to be a really good signing for us.
But even at the time of Duff getting sacked,
90%
of the fan base thought he was a good player. So that's what I'm saying. So then, I would not agree with the fan base who would now say he was a failed transfer because the managers that since came in after Duff didn't play him. The only reason they all stopped liking him is because he stopped playing. When he first got dropped, every week on Twitter, why is Patino not playing? Why is Patino not playing? Why is Patino not playing? That only stopped when he came on like 1 every 3 games as a sub and didn't do anything. Now that's harsh. I think it's harsh to then judge Patino's downfall on his 10 minutes every 3 games. That's what I'm saying. I was frustrated with him originally in the first place. Our fan base thought he was quite good as a whole on general. They only started thinking he was not quite good when he was coming on 10 minutes here or there and he wasn't doing anything in them 10 minutes. That's when the opinion shifted and changed, when Luke Williams and Alan Sheehan stopped using him, and then he started playing a bit rubbish because of his lack of game time. We highlighted earlier in the season he wasn't great, but what I'm trying to say is, if you look at our fan base and how they view last year's transfer window, view it as a manager Michael Duff. These players were signed for him in his system. Up until Michael Duff got sacked is when I'm going to judge that transfer window, is what I'm saying. And at that point, Patino was labelled a success by most of the Swans fan base. I don't think that's unfair to say.
No, I know, but you can't say that he was a good signing because a lot of people thought he was.
No, I don't think so. But
but
we're saying that they're saying that Watson did an awful job. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it was overreaction to say last year's transfer window was that bad. That's what I'm trying to say, all in context. My opinions are different. I don't agree with all of this myself.
All I'm saying as well, though, is that there was evidence from Blackpool for Paul Watson and whoever he was hiring to look at. He wasn't physically capable of playing in this division. So regardless of the style of play, that was going to ring true no matter who the manager was. Also, people at Arsenal will know how good he is or how bad he is. He supposedly had people from Juventus scouting him, yet in the summer now he's gone to Deportivo La Coruña in the 2nd division of Spain for £1 million. So it's like
1 million.
1 million
Fair
euros.
I mean, probably what it's worth. Anyway, that's what I was. I think I know what I'm trying to say. If it didn't come across, fair enough. You got Rushworth.
I understand what you're trying to say. I guess what I'm saying is, if we're judging Patino for his stint under Duff, then you can't call Josh Tymon a success because he was horrific under Duff. Tymon's been a good signing,
but it was playing.
What happened after Duff left the club and Luke Williams came in?
I think he started picking up a little bit. I think when he first started, he was a bit hit or miss. He settled a bit towards the end. He just you obviously saw the best out of him after, but I do think he was okay. He perhaps was a bit suspect defensively, but then the team was. But I wouldn't say he was a bad transfer. Like, it's an in between. He was probably in that area, and for me, then that's not bad. Like, and if again you're only judging it up to November, so you're not giving it that much time. But so you got Timon, Key, Rushworth. I can't remember who the players were, to be honest. Obviously, I would say Patino's in the in between area. Good. Yeah, Rushworth was good. Well, there's 4. Yates, again, up to when Duff got sacked, I wouldn't say he was bad. I think he was starting to go out of form. But he scored 7 goals by November. I can't call that a waste of money by November. He might have been frustrating at times. But he was also signed not necessarily to replace Perot. I think is another.
You can't. I don't know. You can't say someone was a good player because they scored 7 goals in one time. At the end of the season, he finished on like 7 goals. He just wasn't good enough. Like when you watched it, he was an awful player by the end of the season, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that's confidence. Yeah, and again, I'm not trying to say my opinion is Yates was necessarily good.
No, I do know what you're saying. He was good under Duff. I think like at the time. Like I think, like I said, at the time when we signed players on that window, like Humphreys came in on loan and Patino came in on loan and Yates came in, and he thought, actually,
and
this looks tidy, and they didn't work out.
Humphreys was alright until we started playing a passing style of football.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean. It's easy to look back and say all these players didn't go very well when we've completely changed what's on the pitch in terms of what we're trying to do, and a manager and all of this. And now we look back and say we wasted all this money. But at the time, the manager who was in charge, who signed all of those players, it didn't look half as bad as what it looked afterwards. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think we look back on it and say, like, it was this horrendous transfer window. Maybe what we should be saying is the decision to go that direction was a horrendous decision.
Yeah.
Rather than the individual transfers. Yeah, that's the problem. The individual players, I think, have been harshly mislabeled as this horrific group of players that we signed. I don't quite think it's the case. And a lot of the confidence issues that might have resulted in later in the season from some of them players after getting dropped and why they stopped progressing and got a little bit worse, perhaps in the case of Patino and Yates, I think and Humphreys all got worse after the style of play changed. I think it's fair to say some of that is because of the manager change, because of the style of play change, and perhaps it's harsh that we are so harsh on how we remember those players at the club. But obviously that's what we're going to remember because that's what we see on the pitch, and it was a frustrating season. I'm not saying otherwise, but I'm just trying to say I don't think the transfer window was as bad as everyone makes out, and I don't personally have a massive issue with how they dealt with all of the signings. I do, like I said, the Mikola ones were weird with the finances involved there. He's the one that stands out for me as a bit of a odd one. I don't know how much money was any of the other ones. I don't have an issue massively with any of the others. You could say Yates in terms of the fee we spent on Yates. But I think I've already justified that.
Show on if that is £1 million or €1 million.
Yeah, maybe he's the other one then. So those two are the ones that I would say are the ones I would definitely put question marks on. Most of the others fall in an in-between area for me. And then there's a few success stories.
Yeah. No, I think we agree. I said I don't think I'm not defending it. I'm not defending like Watson. I don't think it's been very successful. But again, like I said, I don't understand the level of like
what's his job as well. It's hard to criticize him as well when we don't fully understand his role.
Yeah, but what I guess the question now is, what's the scapegoat going to be? Like when we lose a few games, like what is it going to go back to being? Americans out again, and let's get a match. There'll be rumours of matches again when we start losing some games.
It happens once a year, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We do usually have a run of form that's quite bad to me, and that's when it comes. Because they'll say it's because of the lack of investment. Because as much as they'll... This is another part of my issue. As much as they'll criticise the 13 signings last year, most of the ones we signed this year haven't been... They've been okay, haven't they, as a whole? But then if it goes bad now...
I'd argue they've been... I'd argue our strongest performers are in there, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Frank
Yeah,
Jones,
so if you take the group of them, it's a good. I think I would say at the time of speaking right now, successful transfer window so far. But if we go through a period of games where we lose, I guarantee you the argument will be we didn't invest enough, not good enough, should have spent the money better. I don't know, stuff like that. And it's like, well, you criticised last year when they did this, and now you're criticising this year when they've gone a different route again. So what are you actually asking for?
Just on a full-on like state of affairs of the club. It's just, we could go on for hours about what's going on with the club.
Yeah, let's one more bit of important news, I think, before we do end the video. I don't know if anyone else had anything else to say. I know it's getting on a bit, but did you see about the and apparently Swansea are actually one of the drivers behind this. The Welsh clubs participating in the Welsh Cup, resulting in qualification for the winner to the Champions League.
I want to say,
so just the way it works is it would be Swansea, Cardiff, Newport, Wrexham. They'd compete in the Welsh Cup. If they won the Welsh Cup, they'd advance through to the first round of Europa Conference League qualifying, which is the competition TNS are in right now. We'd carry on playing in the League Cup and FA Cup in the English system. But if we ever won one of those competitions, which, I know we've won the League Cup, let's be realistic, that's probably not going to happen again. If we won one of those two competitions, we wouldn't qualify for Europe via the English route. We could only qualify by the Welsh route, which I think is something that all four of the Welsh clubs I just mentioned would be up for, obviously, because of the funding that comes with it. What's in it for the Welsh League clubs? They get part of the funding if we ever qualify for Europe, and obviously, people would flock to those games probably, wouldn't they? If you had, I'm just making this up, Carnarvon Town versus Swansea, I'd imagine Swans fans would, some people would make the trip up, which would be big for them, but also everyone in and around Carnarvon, they would probably fill the stadium out, you'd imagine.
Yeah.
So, give it 4 or 5 years, maybe we'll see Swans versus Cardiff in the Welsh Cup final. Winner goes to Europe. That'd be quite something, wouldn't it?
Got a few questions on it, though. Like,
just not sure
has it been confirmed? Yeah, I know. Has it been confirmed that I know this is all in discussions and stuff, but has it been confirmed that we can still compete in the English Cups? I know we wouldn't be able to win them and go into Europe, but can we even still compete?
Supposedly the EFL have blocked the idea before, so this is what I mean. There's multiple parties.
I was under the understanding that it was UEFA that blocked it last time.
I don't know I think we have more of a case now. I don't know the exact reasoning or whatever, but there's a case in Switzerland, I believe, where there's a club playing. It's either a Swiss club playing in a different country or a team from a different country playing in Switzerland, and they're doing this. So now UEFA can't really block it, if you get what I mean, because there's an example of the exact same thing happening somewhere else.
We used to do it before, didn't we? I remember, like, going back a few years now, we used to play in the Welsh Cup.
Yeah, but UEFA stopped that. I think that's why it stopped.
No, I know they stopped it, but I mean, we had it. We did have this before, didn't we?
Yeah. So UEFA.
I don't think we qualified for Europe, though, did we? I don't think we had.
No, they did use.
I think we won the Welsh Cup.
Yeah, but I think back in the day,
when we
were
just. I remember we had Wrexham in the final, didn't we?
I want to say it stopped. UEFA blocked the qualification to Europe earlier than we pulled out of the cup. So maybe the 1980s. That's
probably why we pulled out of the cup.
And I think maybe we were in the kind of football league level where we probably wouldn't progress through a lot of the qualifiers. But I do believe we then pulled out later on as it was seen as less rewarding for the clubs at the time. And when it was attempted to be redone last time, UEFA blocked it, saying you won't be able to qualify for Europe, so they didn't go ahead with it. Obviously, Ben's just acknowledged that maybe now there's more of a case. But that's why I was just wondering about all this stuff, because I didn't see all of the answers to these questions. From what I gather, it's been a bit of a mixed reaction amongst fans of, firstly, the Welsh League and the 4 clubs, actually.
So, I mean, I think every Swans fan I've seen would want to. Same with Cardiff, Newport, Wrexham. I think every Welsh Premier League fan would not want it. But then the Welsh Premier League clubs, the people running it, they see the benefit in it. So it seems like the people in power, the decision makers, they're probably all for it from what I've read so far. I haven't seen any Welsh Premier League clubs, like owners or chairman or anything, against the idea. It's a case of how possible is it to implement it, because you've got to get approval from EFL, You got to get approval from the Welsh Prem. You got to get approval from UEFA. There's a lot of hoops you got to jump through before it actually happens.
Yeah.
How brilliant would it be, though? I understand we're completely biased in this. I feel like if I was a Welsh Premier League fan, I'd be saying the complete opposite. I'll hold my hands up and acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But even if it's just a first round game and you get knocked out, can you imagine Swans away in Europe again? It's something that everyone reminisces about.
If we won the cup, if we won the Welsh Cup, for example, and then we had a qualifier against some team in Moldova or something, it'd just be a good laugh, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, everyone reminisces about Valencia and Napoli. Chances are it may not be like that. It could be someone random. All I'd say is, everyone's saying, oh, TNS is qualified for the Conference League. We do it easily. It turns out the way it works is we go through different paths.
Yeah.
So if you win the Welsh Cup, I'm pretty sure your qualifying games, your first round, would be against someone on a Cup Champions path.
Probably the same sort of level of league coefficient, is it? They have sort of same...
Yeah, so I think the route that TNS have got and other teams have got through the Welsh Prem, if you finish like second, or it splits off into two, the Welsh Prem does League A and League B in the second half of the season. So I feel like they get easier opponents than the ones who win the Welsh Cup. The point I'm trying to make is, whereas TNS have played like poor teams to qualify, we would potentially have like somebody who's won the cup in Belgium or someone who's won their cup in, Switzerland. A good team is the point, not necessarily someone that, you'd expect us to put four past.
Yeah, it'd be a challenge, but I mean, I would take it. My other question was going to be, firstly on the fans, and the fans to one of the owners of the clubs or whatever probably see the benefit. I do believe the FAW is for it because they see it as a way of progressing the grassroots in Wales, because the money filters down, and then helping the national team as well in the long run. So that's where this whole idea is being pitched towards, and it developing Welsh football in general. So the idea is you send 4 clubs that are 90% of the time going to win the cup, get to the European qualifying stages and have a better chance of progressing and earning money, which then filters through the system. So that's the idea. The other question I was going to have, though, is if we are still allowed to play in the 2 English Cups, how do you fit it in?
You fit it in because unless it's Cardiff, Wrexham or Newport, we're going to field the under-21s plus a few people on the bench, and that'll probably be enough, is the truth of it. I don't mean to sound condescending.
But they still can't clash, can they?
Yeah. So there are people on our bench who won't come on and be part of the squad in the Championship whilst they're playing the Welsh Cup game. Because you're right, there'll probably be like Welsh Cup game on the Friday night, and then we may be away in Yorkshire on the Saturday. They can't play both games. You're absolutely right. What I'm saying is, unless it's a Cardiff game or a Newport game or Wrexham game, you're not going to see many first-team players out. And I would hope that you just see some common sense. I don't think the EFL are going to rearrange a game, but let's say it's Swans Cardiff on the Friday. I'd like to think they just move the game.
I guess when both clubs can put a request in, they would have to, you would imagine, accommodate that.
There'll probably be midweek games when there's not much on, I'm sure, like when we've done cup games before. Just thinking back when we were in it before, I'm pretty sure like it didn't work out like that. I'm pretty sure we played midweek games.
There'd have to be a little bit of clashing, though, because obviously...
And then you'd have the cup final at the end of the season, like when the FA Cup is, when the season's finished.
You could have home games at the same time, couldn't you? And that wouldn't.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they don't clash. Like, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't clash. They'd have, like, they could be midweek, like when the League Cup is played in midweek.
Yeah, but if we're in the League Cup still.
Yeah, if we're in the league, that's a different story. Yeah, if we go like into the later stages of the League Cup, they might get a clash.
That's why I thought maybe we would drop out of one of them, but I wasn't sure how that was going to work.
Well, I think it's called the Nathaniel MG Cup. I think which we have entered this year. By the way, we're part of this cup right now. It's just we fielded the under-21s and we went out in the first round to...
I thought that was the agreement at the moment. We're only allowed to do that as the under-21 team.
Yeah. The fixture's coming up for now. Cardiff are still in it, playing Cardiff Met Uni. That's on a Monday night. They're then playing it on Tuesday night, the days after. The new Saints... This is what I mean. Like, the new Saints are in Europe this season, for example. Their next round game against Bala Towns on November 13th. They've just completely pushed that back because of European fixtures. So, like, they will make...
Yeah, because I do think, obviously, you're right. Our under-21s are in there at the moment. under the current agreement, which is just under 20. I think that level is quite competitive for them. So like, I don't think necessarily if the reason this has been announced, right, their intention is for these 4 clubs to be successful enough to get to Europe and progress in Europe. That's the intention. They want that happening. That's the only reason they're pushing the idea of this. So I'd imagine, to some extent, you will see some first team involvement, because as it stands now, like our under-21s and Cardiff's under-21s are in the cup. They don't exactly run away with the games and progress into the later stages at the moment with the under-21 squads. So
we made the final last year. Lost to TNS, but we made the final with the under-21s.
Fair, yeah, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, the idea is they want us to go in there to get later in Europe. So I'd imagine if we got to a final,
it works in favour of like the coefficient as well, because I know TNS get into the group stages of the Conference League now would have shot that up a little bit, but most years apart from this year, you'd have TNS or someone getting into the early stages of the qualifiers and going out straight away, and you can never build on that. But if you have us, Cardiff and Wrexham and Newport, whatever, if one of us gets to the gets through like maybe 2 stages, maybe doesn't get go all the way through, but I think you'll start to get more places then when you as the and then that would kind of drag through. So say 9 times, probably 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10, one of the big 4 clubs wins the cup, but then whoever wins the Welsh League might get a better place then in a qualifier if the coefficient places go up.
Yeah, the way it works basically is right now the Welsh League gets 3 European spots, but now that TNS have made into the Conference League, their coefficient's been boosted for Wales as a country. So right now, I think it's from 2026 onwards, there'll be 4 spots for Wales. But literally, if we drop 1 place, I think Belarus could jump above us. We'd be back down to 3 spots for the season after again. So what it's doing is it's safeguarding the 4 European spots for the Welsh League, which obviously all their fans want. But then also in years to come, like currently we're like 49th or 50th coefficient. We want to push up to 40.
Yeah,
that's what
and that would help. That if we got like the Swans into Europe and they got through 2 rounds of qualifiers at least or something or whatever, or even got into the Conference League, they would keep going up, wouldn't it? And then the cup winner would get a space, and then say like TNS and whoever won the Welsh League would finish 2nd and 3rd, 4th. The teams that finish first might even start in a later round as well and have a better chance of qualifying. So I think it just I can understand the kind of the Welsh League fans getting annoyed at it, but apart from that, I don't see anything but a positive.
I mean,
for
arguably,
Welsh football as well.
What you could say is that if doing this allows the coefficient to go up continually, so it goes from 3 to 4 as a more constant, they're probably not even going to lose out in regards to how many Welsh Prem clubs can go as well.
Yeah, this is their argument, though, I suppose. If we don't have the 4th European spot and it doesn't work, then they've just lost the European spot for no reason to us slot in the cup, I suppose. But yeah, you'd like to think last win in the cup, surely it's going to improve the current situation, and the current situation is already they have 4 spots. So.
And if TNS have just gone and done what they've done now, right, you'd argue more often than not one of Cardiff, Swansea, Wrexham probably, especially in the years to come, and on the odd occasion.
I was just thinking, can you imagine the commercial thing?
Yeah, that's probably part of it as well.
That's definitely part of it.
And I mean, look, Andy Coleman is apparently the brains behind this, but 2 of them 4 clubs got American owners now. Just saying as well. They're definitely in some
they probably just
discussions.
Thought, like, well, why can't we have why can't we qualify through Wales, and why can't we get into Europe? The only thing that does put me off is the thought of maybe playing Cardiff 3 times in a season.
It'd be every year in the final.
3
Until Wrexham come and rain on the parade, which they probably will.
You could play them in the semis, couldn't you? And then have to play Wrexham. But you'd have to play Wrexham and Cardiff 3 times in a season potentially.
Yeah.
That would just I don't know if I've got the energy for it.
I mean, I feel like have we ever played Cardiff in a cup since like the 80s? It hasn't happened.
Yeah, there was one in Championship before we got up to the Prem, wasn't it?
In the cup.
Oh, we had him in the League Cup, didn't we? The Gomez free kick.
Yeah.
Was that the cup? Was it?
Oh, yeah,
was it like? Was it like 2000 and?
That was mad. I never
8,
forget
9.
that. That was the first derby we had in years. That was, but we just got promoted to the Championship. And we were like, oh, here we go. We've got Cardiff twice for the first time in years, and then we drew them first round of the cup.
We would have had them in like 2 of the recent seasons if they didn't get knocked out before us. Not this year. We got knocked out before them, didn't we? But yeah. Okay. Well, that's that. Anything else we missed then before we end?
No, I feel like we've talked about absolutely everything, haven't we?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, hold on. Greece beat England 2-1. Just thought I thought that was funny.
Oh, you did say there was some breaking news. Didn't say we talked about him a lot, but got injured. Or got injured.
Well, I think it's only a knock, probably. But yeah.
Well, we'll see. By the time this video goes out, we won't know if he's out for weeks or not. Let's hope not. Okay.
At home, England were as well, you know. That is quite funny.
They won, would say 2-1.
Yeah.
Who scored?
94th minute winner. Vangelis Pavlidis scored 2.
Good
and
luck.
Bellingham.
That's outstanding that Greece won in Wembley. That's amazing.
Same old England, eh? I whatever. No comment. They do my head in. It's just boring, isn't it? How can you have that talent and do that with it? Like nothing.
Well, they played, if I just get the shape up to begin with, I think it was something like...
They didn't have a striker, did they?
No, they had Declan Rice, then they had Palmer and Foden like next to him in a midfield 3. Then Bellingham further up and, Saka and someone else out wide, I think it was.
They just don't know how to put these players in the team, do they? They just have no idea where to play them.
All of these players are the best players in the world, but they don't quite fit in the formation. Let's just do it anyway. It's like back in the day with Lampard, Gerrard and Scholes, isn't it?
Yeah,
Greece I was going to say Greece also had 2 disallowed goals and they had 1 cleared off the line.
Wow.
Yeah. There's too much club politics. I think they don't want to, they don't want to play like one side. They don't want to play a winger from Man United instead of one from...
Ollie Watkins up front.
So they try and play them. So they try and play them all, don't they? To not like, because they'll all kick off then. Like, Saka's not playing instead of
Saka's overrated anyway.
So they just play them all.
Controversial.
Saka, I don't know.
He's overrated. Come on, he's overrated.
He's all right. But I will say every game I've watched him play, I've not seen him do much.
That's what I mean.
But that's just the games I've played. I've watched him.
Take him out of the Arsenal team, and they're no longer title winners. They're not even close. I do.
Well, they're still not title winners, mate. They still haven't won the title.
He's a good player.
No, he is, but he's not like...
They've been in a very strong position to do it 2 years in a row, which against a City side is...
I didn't say he's not a good player, but he's overrated. They're like, if you talk to England fans and Arsenal fans at the moment, they're saying he's England's best product since whatever, or Britain's best product since whatever, and they're saying he's better than Gareth Bale in his prime, and it's like absolutely not.
I don't fall for the bait. I don't truly believe that Arsenal fans think Saka's better than Bale. I don't actually believe that.
That's a Spurs thing, though, isn't it? That's an Arsenal Spurs thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, but I'm not even on about Arsenal fans. This is England fans after the Euros or whatever, when they're like, "Oh, he's our best winger product in Britain for years," and it's like, and then someone says Bale, and they're like, "Nah, he had like 1 good season at Madrid." It's like, no, mate. Just because Bale, it's recency bias, isn't it? Just because Bale had a really bad end of his career, don't discredit the highs, which was quite good. It's a good period. Bale's better than Harry Kane. There, right? Let's end the video. Harry Kane's overrated. There, I said it. He's definitely overrated.
If we did have any English watchers, but they're not tuning back in next week. But thanks for listening today.
I mean, no, come and tell me why I'm wrong. That's what you need to do. But
Harry
come
Kane,
on. I'm not saying he's not a good player.
He's guaranteed 20, 25 goals a season wherever he plays. Guaranteed.
I just think he's a little bit overrated, that's all. I think he's a top quality player.
If he didn't leave Spurs, he was going to break Alan Shearer's record for most goals in Premier League history.
I think he's class. I think he's just an absolute
But then,
goal
if
scorer.
Aguero played in the Premier League for the same amount of time as Harry Kane, then he would have done it as well.
Okay, well, at least Kane was doing it for a side that weren't even always qualifying for the Champions League. Aguero was doing it for one of the best Prem sides of all time.
Yeah, Harry Kane's class. I think he's a brilliant player.
He is a brilliant player. I didn't say he wasn't.
I don't think he's overrated either. I think he's just
rightly
rated.
He was absolutely awful in the Euros.
He wasn't fit. He wasn't fit.
Don't play him then.
He wasn't fit.
Play Ollie
He's a
Watkins
captain.
or Ivan Toney then.
Yeah, I know I'm not. Yeah, we've gone way off, but I just think, yeah, he scored 4 goals the other day for Bayern Munich.
Yeah, in the Farmers League.
Yeah, but what else can he do?
Leverkusen won that last
You want him
year.
to score 5 instead?
No, I'm not saying that's fine. He's doing his job. I'm just saying that he's overrated.
You put him in any team, he gets at least 25.
I bet he wouldn't get 25 goals in this Swansea team. I bet he wouldn't.
He'd get 25 goals.
Harry.
Perot got bloody 24.
Yeah, not in this Swansea team he didn't. I mean this season where we're not creating the chances. Put Harry Kane in and I reckon he would look like...
Just the 10 goals and 6 assists in 9 games for Kane this season, by the way, guys.
Ben, help me out with this. It's time to go to bed, I think. Saying Kane wouldn't score 20 goals in this Swans team. It's time for bed.
I don't think you would, personally. I think, well, for a start, you need to get the ball to him.
We've just lost all credibility.
Well, no, what we'll actually
It's
do...
just shaping up to be our last podcast.
What we're doing is seeing who's still here at this point. Because
yeah, if you've made it this far, hats off to you.
yeah, if I get rinsed in the comments, we know people are watching 2 hours into the podcast. If I don't, maybe they're not. But we'll see. Anyway, on that note, we'll call it a day. Thanks everyone for listening. As always, we'll catch you probably after the international break. Next game, Blackburn, so I'll probably have a preview done for that as well. We've got to find a new system to try and record because this one's a bit temperamental at the moment. Well, I say temperamental. They've changed the way that it's operating and it's not quite suiting our needs anymore. So yeah, there might be a few changes coming ahead, but hopefully it won't affect too much in terms of our output. But thanks as always for listening. Leave a comment about any of the rubbish that we spoke today below, and we shall see you in the next one.
In a bit.